Good.
Where's Ellen and Titus?
They'll be here. I think their mama didn't set their clock, so they're gonna be here when they get.
Hello.
Hello.
How does it work with you?
I'm standing right in front of it and you're beside it. Come right here.
Hello.
See, you're louder. See, you were louder.
It is not fair because I am lower. Yeah?
She is not bothering me. He is not bothering me.
He.
I accidentally said that. Just inside the pearly gate.
I hear noises back there.
Preacher's back there.
Okay, good.
He's scary, but he's back there. Am I making that thing holler? Is it me making that thing holler? Is it you making that thing?
I couldn't open the door. I had two lockers. Because that one I won.
I'm glad I saw these. I told you. we should have put the thing right here and put it down low and put the microphone down right here and I could just, I didn't sleep Friday night and then we had to wake up hour early. I get up about 5:30 or 6:30, but I had to set the clock because I was scared I wouldn't. I was scared I'd sleep. Down at Clubby, that's a good zoo. Oh, is it? I love those flamingos down there. That's who, I love to see them flamingos. We starting in 35 seconds, little girl. You just in the mood for hugging this morning for some reason, ain't you?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, if I felt that good, I'd run everywhere I went. I don't ever remember feeling, it's been a long time. Good morning. Good morning. All right. All right, good morning. We got a good lesson today, if I can get it told. Our today's lessons, Jesus restored my life. And the point is, Jesus restored what was broken in my life. And our overall point is my encounter with Jesus. And that's what we're talking about in the first part of our lessons each week. This mic's hot, I'm loud. So, anybody got any prayer requests? Billy Love's daughter, Lori Kidd, passed away. Yeah, passed away. And so we need to remember Billy and Lori's family. Billy's such he's such a cut-up kidder, but he's such a sweet and precious guy, and that's just got him that his daughter has passed, and he was with her, which was good, and the family was all there. But so we need to remember the Lori Kidd family and remember Billy. The kids are having their painting thing this afternoon after church, so they'll have a good time doing that. We got any other prayer requests? Anybody? Have we heard anything else? As far as we know, April's surgery and procedure turned out. Oh, well, good. Well, good. Maybe she found a good doctor that got stuff. Good, good. I know Joe don't feel good this morning. His head's all stuffed up, so he won't be here. You got a prayer request, baby? What's that? Oh my goodness. How old is he? Caleb. Oh my goodness. Caleb. Well, we don't have to put him on a prayer list, but Amy had texted me about a boy that's 16 years old that's name is Brock, and he had a sinus infection, and it ended up getting so bad it turned into bacterial spinal meningitis, and they had done several surgeries on him to clean out the infection, and he wasn't doing very well, but I think after this last one he was doing better. So we just need to remember 16-year-old Brock in that process. But I know she's on the prayer list, but I pray that I ask that y'all would remember my friend Josie Way. She's the girl that's from the Philippines who's with her and her husband before they moved to Florida, and then her husband passed away. So she is having a rough time, and she doesn't know Jesus as her Savior, so she's having a very rough time. And I have several unspoken, and I know we've got several in the church that needs prayer. And I hear somebody coughing over there. Everybody's allergies have gone crazy. So, all right. I'm going to ask Mr. Roy, how about leading us in a word of prayer this morning? And then we'll get started with our lesson. Amen. Thank you there, Roy. So Jesus restored my life. And last week we talked about the woman at the well, how Jesus had made a big difference in her life. And a lot of people, it talks in the Bible about how spoke to her after Jesus spoke to her, and she went and told them about her encounter with the Lord, that there were people that she spoke with that got saved also, that had a change because of his contact with her. So here we are. He's traveling to Galilee, and he went through Samaria to get there, and now he has went and he stayed at Galilee, turning to Jerusalem. So John 5:2-7 says, "Now there is at Jerusalem by the sheep market a pool, which is called in the Hebrew tongue Bethesda, having 5 porches. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. After the troubling of the water stepped in, was made whole of whatever disease he had. And a certain man was there, which had an infirmity 38 years. When Jesus saw him lie, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, Wilt thou be made whole? The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. So, this place where Jesus was going, it says here, God instructed his people to gather each year for a festival like the Passover or Pentecost and the tabernacles. Well, in John 5:1, John wrote that Jesus made his way to Jerusalem, that's where he was going, to keep one of the festivals, but it doesn't say which festival it is. And he ended up going by the sheep market, and that is exactly what it says it is. It says that sheep to be sacrificed in the temple were kept in this area, and I guess they might have been sacrificed there, but it was near a pool of water, and it says that was fed by an underground stream. The pool was named Bethesda, which means house of mercy. And here, this pool had 5 porches or colonnades, and it was just basically areas that would go right down with some steps and a flat area that would go right down to where people could step into the pool. So there were 5 porches there, which meant that it was a place that they deemed as a special place, because if it wasn't that special, it would have only had like 1 porch. But it said that it was a special place, and there was a lot of people there that were blind and couldn't walk, or something that had happened to them. And these were people that the medicine of that day couldn't do anything for. So they actually had no hope of being healed. They had all the resources that they had to be healed were gone, and they had no hope of being healed. Basically, they had no hope. And it says they went down to and lay near this pool, because it says an angel went down at a certain time and would stir the water, and when the water stirred, whoever stepped in, first served thing, would be healed of whatever disease that he had. And in studying this lesson, it calls it a legend of the moving of the waters, because there is actually no other text or written word anywhere that backs up the fact that there was an angel that went down. But it could have been that something happened, that somebody got better, somebody got well, something that happened that made this start up about perhaps there was an angel that came down, because it doesn't say exactly. It says, for an angel went down at a certain season, so they weren't sure that this was as accurate as it could be. However, the idea is that these people that were there at that well, at that pool, none of them had any hope of getting better. In other words, they were just what they were, disabled, without any encouragement, without any hope. It says an infirmity it was, but obviously from what we read ahead, it had something to do that way for 38 years. That's a long time to be sick. I've been on disability for almost 8 years now with my back, and it seems like it's been forever. So I can't imagine 38 years, and I don't know how old this man was. It doesn't tell how old this man was. But for 38 years, he had lived with this debilitating infirmity, whatever it was, and he was at a point up and move around or get around very quickly, or pain was involved or what. But when Jesus saw him there, it says, and he knew that he had been that way for a long time. Because, of course, we know Jesus knows everything about us. And so he knew that he had been that way a long time. And he said, would you be made whole? And that's kind of like saying, do you want to get better? But he said, would you be made whole? Well, of course, that guy wanted to, but he said, instead of saying, yes, I'd love to be healed, he said, well, I don't have anybody to dip me in the water. Whenever it stirs, somebody healthier than me gets down to that water first, and then they get healed, and I don't have anybody to help me. I have no one. He basically was telling Jesus, by saying, I have no one to help me, that he didn't have family members, or he didn't have anybody that would take care of him. He had nobody. He was all alone and by himself. It says he acknowledged the depth of his hopelessness, having nobody with him who could place him in a pool, signaled the disturbing reality that he had been abandoned. He had no one. Hopeless. This man was hopeless. He lived in a hopeless situation, hopelessness. And if you've ever in your life and felt that hopelessness, you know where he's at. We've all had times when we felt like it was never going to get better, that our life, we just trudged on every day, just living till run out, just making it, not alive. We were alive, but we were not living. That was his life. He was hopeless in what he did. But Jesus came along and said, do you want to get better? Would you like to be healed? Would you be healed? And so Jesus looked at him and said, John 5:8-11 says, Jesus said unto him, rise, take up your bed and walk. And immediately the man was made whole and took up. Could you imagine that? After 38 years, being sick every single day and just being hopeless, no way getting better, but to immediately be made whole, his strength written into his legs, his arms, whatever it was internally that was in pain and sickness was just gone. So it says, immediately the man was made whole, and he took up his bed and walked. And on that same day was the Sabbath. That's very important in what we're going to talk about in a few minutes, that it was done on a Sabbath day. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, it's the Sabbath day. It's not lawful for you to carry your bed. They did not look at him and say, hey, look at this guy that we know he's been out here beside this pool for 38 years. He's been sick almost every day of his life, and he's been healed. That day's been a miracle occurred. Instead, they said, hey, by Jewish law, you know you're not supposed to pick your bed up and carry it. And he said, he that made me whole, the same said to me, take up your bed and walk. So Jesus just instructed the man to stand up. He told him, just stand up. All you have to do is stand up and walk. Jesus told him to do something else. He said, pick up your bed. Just pick up your bed, the one you've been laying on, the one that your infirmed bed, your hopeless bed. You are above that now. Just pick it up and walk. So it says the possibility of carrying his bed instead of lying on it had been out of reach for him until he met Jesus. Jesus changed this man's life, just like the woman at the well, just like the woman who touched his garment that had the issue of blood. Her faith was so strong into his clothes that he's wearing. I don't even have to touch him. All I have to do is just even touch the clothes that he's wearing. Then my sickness will go away. I'll be whole. And that's what happened to this guy. His life was changed the day he met Jesus. Changed. He was made whole immediately. Jesus' compassion for people who need what he alone can provide for them. The man had no hope without Jesus. In this world we live in, not just with what's going on, but in this world period, from the time that Adam and Eve was put on this earth, was created, if we don't have Jesus, we have no hope. Where is our hope? I think about people that have lost loved ones. Where's their hope? If they don't have that hope in knowing Jesus, what is there to life? There is no hope. So this man had no hope, and Jesus came along, the only one that could give him hope, the only place we can get hope. It says the miracle took place on the Sabbath, which is the seventh day of the week. The Lord had instructed in Exodus 28 through 11, had instructed his people to honor him on the Sabbath. Honoring the Lord on the Sabbath involved resting from work and worshiping him. The Lord intended for his people to take the seventh day of the week as a unique time for spiritual and physical revitalization, to rest and worship him, and to get not just physically rested, but have that rest in their spirit, to be peace, to have that peace and have that rejuvenation, to be able to get up and say, the Lord's with me and I'm going on regardless. It says one of the restriction, the Jews went from taking those things that God had made and in his law as to what not to do on the Sabbath, till they made up their own laws and restrictions as to what people could do and what people couldn't do on the Sabbath. I was reading, and I don't remember if it was in y'all's book or if it was in this, traveled, and he went to some city, and in that city, on the Sabbath, in these hotels, the hotel elevators would be made to fit where you got on the elevator and you didn't push a button. it would stop at the first floor and people would get off, and then it would stop at the second floor and the third floor. It was made to stop at every floor and open so that people would not have to push the button, because that was considered work and it was wrong. Well, we can tell that that's kind of ludicrous to put pushing a button is work, but that's how strict the law is today, the way it is, this guy said in the book. Then just think about how strict these laws were. And people did all kinds of stuff to get around these laws. You weren't supposed to take but so many steps from your house any further than you had broken the law. So for this man to reach down and pick up his bed, just a bundle of blankets or whatever it was considered work, and they considered it wrong. By the time of Jesus, the Sabbath had become a day in which God's people had to abide by rigid religious regulations. The regulations for the Sabbath turned out to be particularly restrictive. One of the restrictions involved the man's obedience to Jesus. The laws prohibiting picking up a mat